All right, welcome everyone. That was the artist Big Thief with their two songs. What was the first one? Mythological Beauty, and then UFOF, or UFO Friend. So let's dive into the lyrics and see what we see. So the first one, Mythological Beauty. You have a mythological beauty. You have the eye, single eye of someone I have seen. So it's like uncovering the connectedness, the single eye, the pineal being the portal to God, the portal to consciousness, which is you, the portal to yourself, to your true self, not the identity, not the character, but your true self. You have the eye of someone I have seen, because it's the same. Outside of ordinary situations, even outside of dreams. So ordinary situations, the physical experience, the sensational reality, even outside of dreams. So dreams only go so far. It's like beyond. It is the immaterial. It is the void. You lie in bed at night and watch the lines of headlights through your screen. There's a child inside of you who is trying. So that Christ within, that inner child, to that budding aspect of consciousness that's yearning to flourish and experience and create within you. To raise the child in me. If you want to leave, you just have to say, you're all caught up inside, but you know the way. So being all caught up inside, and this could be singing to the Christ because you know the way, or it could be singing to someone who is caught up inside and not in, I think this is framed more in like a tumultuous way, like caught up in our own head, stuck in our thoughts. So if you want to leave, you just have to say, you're all caught up inside, but you know the way, as in come back to the way. You cut the flesh of your left thumb using your boyfriend's knife. This could have deeper meaning in the biblical reference of cutting off your left hand. If it's I'm horribly paraphrasing, but if it's tempting you, essentially, if your flesh is tempting you, then better to cut it off. And it's not to be taken literally, but just to emphasize the importance of not giving in to the worldly pleasures to guide us. So this could be a reference to that. You cut the flesh of your left thumb using your boyfriend's knife. 17, you took his cum and you gave birth to your first life. So 17 being that alchemical number of Q, and Q is like the breaking point, the layer of breaking free from the cycle, from the loop. That's why Q has that line through it. So 17 represents that, and even represents the moment where the sperm meets and penetrates the egg at conception. It forms the Q, which is you. And you gave birth to your first life. So at the beginning, you gave Andrew a family who you thought could love and take better care. I have an older brother. I don't know. He could be anywhere. There could be a lot more depth to this, though I see it as more just a reflection of sort of childhood and trauma, and it moves through like a transmutational space. So having an estranged brother, a young pregnancy, childbirth, all these things that society does to us, and we've only done it to ourselves, so we don't have anybody else to blame, but these circumstances are quite challenging. So to recognize the trauma for what it is and to transmute it. So if you want to leave, it repeats, you just have to say, like, we're not bound to our circumstances. We're not bound to our environment. We're not bound to anything, really. So if you want to leave, you just have to say, acknowledge with humility that you're all caught up inside, but you know the way. So come back to the way. Rented a house in Nisswa, Minnesota, shrapnel and oil cans, rhubarb in the yard. So paints the image of poverty. I built a ladder out of metal pieces. So this could be referring deeper to Jacob's ladder and no matter what circumstances we're in, we build that ladder within, and we climb that ladder. Father was working hard, standing beneath the oak tree by the front door. You were inside baking bread. Sister came out and put her arms around me, blood gushing from my head. You held me in the backseat with a dish rag, soaking up blood with your eye. I was just 5 and you were 27, praying, don't let my baby die. So it paints the picture of another sort of traumatic experience, and then comes back to this chorus. If you want to leave, you just have to say, so surrender. You're all caught up inside, but you know the way. So come back to that. So much more to live your life, to walk the floor, to say goodnight, to leave your light on. Do you leave your light on? Do you leave your light on? You know, do you have oil in your lamp? Do you, no matter what traumatic experiences we're going through, and of course it's hard in those moments, but to refine those, transmute those, alchemize those moments, to come back to, do you leave your light on? Are you a light even in the dark spaces where it's especially challenging? So you're all caught up inside, but you know the way. So come back to that. So yeah, that's that song, Mythological Beauty. And then the next one, UFOF. And as the song makes very clear, I will just clarify that I'm not advocating or saying that there's alien life in the out there, but there are aspects of consciousness that are alien to us in this form, and you can call them angels, you can call them higher beings, you can call them aliens if you want to, but they're not in some far off distant, galaxy or far off distant space. They're actually within you, and they are you. So, but when we are in a lowered form, when we're in a fallen state, then of course anything that we interact with that is that much of a different frequency, it is going to seem alien to us. So to my UFO friend, to the unmanifest, to the angels, goodbye, goodbye, like a seed in the wind. So that's when we connect with our angelic guides, when we connect with our higher self through meditation, through that stillness, we say goodbye, goodbye, like a seed in the wind, because it's fleeting. It's very challenging to maintain that connection at all times. So that is a goal. It's an objective to maintain that peace and that connection. But it happens. It's fleeting. She's taking up root in the sky. See her flickering. So she's ascending. She's rising. The divine is leaving in this moment, and she doesn't ever fully leave, but just the true feeling, or the full feeling of connectedness. Her system won't even try to defend and ripen in the radio action. So as I read this as like she's, no matter how much we tune our dial in that moment, perhaps she's still leaving. And I was actually just having a conversation about this, like the expectations, like we can have magical, wonderful experiences in meditation, and we are going to, and we will continue having those the more that we give into meditation, and meditation can look like whatever works for you. There are certainly practices and things that can be helpful. However, I want to point out that the expectation is a meditation killer, is what causes her to leave. So if I have a meditation practice and I'm expecting some result from it, I'm pushing that result away. I'm pushing any possibility away because of that expectation. If I have a particular practice and I'm expecting that to work every time, then I'm creating the circumstances where that might not work. And that's just how she operates. It is imperative to have that complete surrender and complete openness to how she approaches us. And again, I'm not suggesting or I'm not detracting away from meditation practices and tips and tricks that can be very helpful. However, I am saying be mindful of the attachment to any style or any way, as if that is the end all be all, and I'm going to get X, Y, and Z result by doing it. Because that's the mental That's mental expectation, and that actually limits her ability to reach us. So that might be what she's saying. Her system won't even try to defend and ripen in the radio action. As I tune my radio dials, she'll never return again like that. Polarize, the seasons will bend. So polarizes, and we're falling further. The seasons will bend is in this illusory concept we call time marches forward, and through that we polarize and we fall, and she falls away from us. There'll soon be no proof that there is no alien. There'll soon be proof that there is no alien. So again, I'm not saying that aliens exist and they're on some far off distant planet galaxy thing, but what does the alien represent in the song, which is the divine influence? So there'll soon be proof that there is no alien as we fall into the material obsession, the world of science, where everything is based in the material and the immaterial doesn't even exist. That's the huge deception, that we do to ourselves to keep us away from that divine influence, and she'll never return again while we hold that belief. Just a system of truth and lies. So that's the upside down system that we've created and thrown ourselves into, the system of physicality. The reason, the language, and the law of attraction. Just like a bad dream, you'll disappear. So the reason, the language, and the law of attraction, these higher elements of divine interplay. Just like a bad dream, you'll disappear. The mechanisms of connecting with her become less and less as we fall deeper into this belief that she doesn't even exist. Another map turns blue, mirror on mirror. So a map turning blue, it can represent both things. So this could be referencing map turning blue as in red shift to blue shift. This could be referencing an awakening process, like through this falling action, another map turns blue as somebody steps out of it. The Red Sea is parted, another map turns blue. Or it could be turns blue as in falls dismal and separate. Could be either way. But either way, it is the evolutionary process that we're going through as this consciousness that we are forgets itself and then remembers again and goes back and forth through all those and everything in between. Mirror on mirror, which is all we're doing here, just having this experience to see ourselves from infinite vantage points. And I imagine you taking me out of here to deepen our love. It isn't even a fraction. So that might be another map turning blue, is imagining you taking me out of here. Or that could be the savior mentality, that part of the deception is relying on something else. We want to deepen our love. It isn't even a fraction, but is that itself a form of attachment? Or it could be drawing upon the higher element of this is how we deepen our love. It isn't even a fraction, by going through the layers of falling into forgetfulness just so we can remember again. So could look at that either way. Switch to another lens, the last sunlight. So switch to another lens, another vantage point, another lifetime, another perspective. It's all you. It's just different, various vantage points. The last sunlight, I don't need any other friends. So it's a lonely path, this straight and narrow, very refining. The best kiss I ever had is the flickering of the water, so clear and bright. So the kiss of the divine, the water representing that sacred, feminine, divine influence in that way. The kiss of the water, so clear and bright, that clarity. So the kiss of the divine is the best kiss I ever had. To leap in my skin and I could feel the reaction, just like a bad dream, you'll disappear. Another map turns blue, mirror on mirror. So, as I mentioned, the coalescing, falling and rising, this form that we do, forgetting, remembering, it's all part of it. And it sounds intense when you zoom out and look at it from in that rapid succession kind of way. But of course, these experiences are seemingly drawn out as we experience them in this linear sort of way, to forget and then remember and then forget, and hundreds, thousands, millions of years in between. Who knows? It doesn't really matter, but it's the same form. So another map turns blue, mirror on mirror, and I imagine you taking me out of here to deepen our love. It isn't even a fraction. This is, how do you deepen how do you deepen love? When you are love, how do you deepen your connection with love? Well, we have to experience everything that it is not. The contrast, to deepen our connection with what it is. So that's what a big part of what this experience is for. Just like a bad dream, you'll disappear. Another map turns blue, mirror on mirror. And I imagine you taking me out of here to deepen our love. It isn't even a fraction. So yeah, that's that song, again by Big Thief, Mythological Beauty, and UFOF. So I hope y'all enjoyed that. And yeah, welcome. Thanks for being here today on this Thursday, September 4th, 2025, as some describe it, as is commonly spoken about, but is merely just a, time is a funny thing. So here we are on this day to have another Quest-i-on, which is the series name for this show that we've been doing for, I think, 2 years consistently now. It's been I'd have to go back and see when I first started doing this particular series, but it's been a minute. And these shows are a opportunity for us to gather and to ask questions, because we are on that quest. The Quest-i-on, you break apart that word, the quest to illuminate the single I. So that single I in the middle of the word, the I-on, how can I illuminate that I? And we do that by asking the questions, which demonstrate a humility, an openness to receiving what we need to seek and you shall find, ask and you shall be given, knock and the door shall be open. That's part of this. So this is a great opportunity for us to come together and to ask questions, to share our experiences, to go over anything in our lives and see what comes up, because we are all reflections of the same, yet each of our unique experiences present such a beautiful way for it to weave together. So the common elements can be connected through each of our stories, and the differences can be celebrated of like, wow, that's so amazing that you got to experience it that way. I experienced it this way. And putting all those pieces together just makes a wonderful, wonderful painting come together. That we're all different shades of painting on this beautiful painting, different lines in the tapestry weaving together to make the most beautiful picture. So yeah, that's what we do here. And just to go over some quick announcements. So just to let everyone know, this week has been truly wonderful connecting here in upstate New York. We've had a handful of lovely family members come and visit, people from this community. And it's just been amazing to reconnect and to share time and to sit by the fire and to share stories. So that's been really beautiful. So thank you to all who have come, and everyone who is not able to be here physically, just know that you are with us. We celebrate the connectedness that can happen through this community, and I'm so grateful for it. So the love is, we're sending the love out, and I hope you're receiving it. So we've got a few more days of people being in town for that. Some have left today, and it's been beautiful. So and then just wanted to remind everyone that next Sunday is going to be the Foxhole fundraising gala, however you say it, in Wrightsville, Pennsylvania, which is pretty near to York, Pennsylvania. So southern border Pennsylvania. And it's going to be an amazing event where we'll have speakers. I'll be one of the speakers. Another speaker that I'm excited about is SG will be there as well. And there'll be quite a few others who are just sharing just a 5-minute talk about how to make the world a better place. So I haven't written my speech yet. I don't even know how much I'm going to actually write, just because that's everything that I like to talk about anyway. So I'm sure it'll come to me. And yeah, it's going to be a great event. So if you are interested in joining us, we do have limited seats left at no cost. It is a fundraising gala for raising money for the Foxhole Foundation, which is all about disaster relief and veteran aid. So any help is certainly appreciated. However, we do have extra seats available, and we have enough food. So if somebody wants to go and cost is an issue, please let me know. We have limited seats available, but if you are wanting to do that, we can certainly make that happen. Just reach out to me privately any which way that you can, and we'll get you there. So that should be fun. And yeah, what else? So just to remind everyone that I am 100% donation supported to do all that I do. So thank you to all who do chip in every now and again to help keep me going. This just helps to cover my basic living costs. I live very simply. I keep my costs very minimal. I don't really know anybody else who lives as inexpensively as I do. And I'm happy to do that. I really am. But every little bit does help to just cover costs that come up. And any extra that I'm raising does help to go to support Bali and the Lions of Uganda orphanage in Uganda. So that's another group that I'm consistently helping to support. So any help is just greatly appreciated to cover my costs, and then extra goes to them as well. And they get by amazingly on very little as well. It's amazing to run an entire orphanage of children. He's got close to 30 children living there, and then he feeds so many other children in the community, and their expenses, they're able to keep them, he says it's tough to stay at this level, but around $250 to $300 a month is they're able to get by. So I am making it a priority to make sure they get at least that. But of course, there are other things that come up, issues with rent and possibly needing to find a new place. So if anyone is able to help chip in for that, that's greatly appreciated as well. And yeah, if you'd like to support that, you can certainly go to the Gifts and Go page, which I think I actually need to reactivate, or you can send to me any which way. You can contribute to my pages. So justincarpenter.org/contribute, and just add a note that you'd like it to go to Bali and the children there. And I'm happy to forward that. So thank you to all who help in all those various ways. And if anything, just offer your prayers and support and spread the word too. If you know any communities or any wealthy people who might be interested in sponsoring for a month or 6 months or even a year for their costs, I mean, that would be immeasurable help with that. So, yeah, I'm doing my best to keep that afloat, but, yeah, just appreciate any consideration there. I know it's tough for everyone, so no pressure. Nobody needs to put themselves out of their basic needs to cover that. But yeah, just something to consider. So thank you for hearing me there. And yeah, and then, as Lila mentioned last week, not to be confused with another orphanage that she's taken upon herself in Uganda as well. Just sort of God's sense of humor to give us to, but both of them are very much legitimate, real organizations. We communicate with them regularly, have had plenty of video calls, talked extensively with them. I would love to go visit and see them, and they're always inviting me to go there, but it's just not feasible in this moment. So her orphanage that she's supporting is the Hands of Hope with Sam. And so if you'd like to support them, definitely reach out to her with that. So yeah, thanks there. And I think that's about it as far as the introductory stuff. So thanks for hearing me with that. And yeah, we'll just dive into questions for the day. So if you're unfamiliar or just want a reminder, at any point, if you find yourself wanting to jump into the conversation, whether to ask a question or to share on any topic that we are discussing, everything is welcome. So if you do want to do that at any point, just simply hit that center button on your screen. That signals to me to raise your hand, or that raises your hand to me, which signals that you'd like your mic opened. I'll open up your mic and call on you when there's an opportune moment. If your mic is already opened, just simply find a pause to jump into the conversation. Or if you have a hard time doing that, then just toggle your mic on and off with that same button, and I will do my best to see it and call on you. And people are also welcome to send me offline questions as well at any point throughout the week or whenever. And I do my best to record and save those for these shows, just to give more of my perspective there and to share it with other people instead of just answering people individually. I find that to be a much more effective way of just covering stuff. And so you're always welcome to send me questions. And yeah, but I do love to give priority to those who are here live on the call, just because it's a bit more fun to engage in conversation. But I do have written questions to go over as well. So with that, I will just pass it off and see if anybody wants to start us off with a topic, a question, a share, anything in that capacity. So I'll give it a second. All right, no worries there. Let's dive into the first question for today, written form. Pull that up. So these were some good questions from Karen, and we're going to be talking more to kind of go over more specifics as far as like a detox protocol. And I'll mention that as well, as I don't often reference it, but I probably should. Anyone's welcome to reach out to me privately and schedule a one-on-one call where we can go over anything in any area that you've heard me talk about or anything that I might know about, and we can go into a lot more detail. So for those calls, I do ask to consider giving a donation for the time, just since it's dedicated time away from the community and away from everything else going on in my life. So if you would like to do that, then just reach out, and any which way that you can connect with me, and we can schedule a time and go over all of that. But just wanted to give that as an option. So these were some questions that she had asked, just to kind of as prep to get ready for our call where we go over a sort of detox protocol for her. But she was asking about some various things, like one of them was questioning about the length of time she should do for a detox. And I told her, and that's why it's great that we're going to talk more about this specifically, but I'll just say to that is it depends. It completely depends on where you are in life, how much time you have available, and your commitment to perhaps some uncomfortable situations. Because the detox journey is not always fun. Just to put it simply, it can be approached very gently, and this tends to have a much longer duration for the time required to move through different stages. So you can always go that route and just slowly chip away at things that we're eating, having various times to cleanse in gentle ways, but really just taking a slow and steady approach, which for a lot of people, that's the best way, because you're not having to dedicate long periods of time or having to break off from work or other responsibilities in order to sit with yourself and go through and process these things that come up. Because what often does come up when we detox, especially more heavily and more intensely, is we have detox symptoms that I've never seen a full list of detox symptoms, but it's literally anything that you could think of, any pain or release or stuff coming through the skin, digestive things, skin irritation, rashes, all of that, headaches, mood swings, you name it. All of those can be a result of detoxing. So if we are going to do it a sort of faster route, then it's just important to be prepared for these kind of things coming up. And sometimes I don't always recommend doing that, but it really just depends on where you are and what you're ready for. And I will also say that we're all kind of wired a bit differently. Some of us have more receptive compositions to detox faster without as severe effects. Some people have very severe effects, even just doing slight changes. So it really is, it's such a nuanced conversation, and it's very challenging to sort of give a broad recommendation on like how long should I detox for, which is why we're going to have a more in-depth conversation with her. But I just wanted to mention that in case anyone is thinking about going deeper into cleansing and experimenting with, because she's experimenting with like anti-parasite herbal formulas and various other avenues. And so she's just asking for some guidance before she jumps in. So just speaking generally on it here for anyone else who might be interested in something like that, I'm more than happy to help, but I will say that I can't give a good recommendation without knowing a lot more. And that kind of requires time for us to sit down and go through that. So yeah, just wanted to mention that. And then she asked, do I think a long juice feast would clear these out with detox? So juice feasting, for those who aren't aware, is where you go on a period of time where you're only drinking juice, typically fruit juice, but like a high calorie juice, and lots of it for a period of time. So you're meeting all of your caloric needs, but you're essentially giving a pause to your digestive system so that it can rest and heal. So it's similar to fasting, but it's not fasting, because you're still getting the sugars and the fuel that your body's looking for from a physical form, but you're just making it in the absolute easiest form possible for it to utilize. So that's what juice feasting is. There are various schools of thought around juice feasting and whether it's a good thing to do or a harmful thing to do. I still lean towards it can be a very helpful tool to use for a certain length of time. But going longer than say, I know Dr. Morse, he kind of recommends no longer than 60 days. So 60 days on just juice. I kind of lean more towards like 30 days being a big marker. Anything longer than 30 to 60 days, you really start to rewire your digestive system pretty, not drastically, not irreversibly. Nothing is irreversible, but it makes a lot of changes. And the longer you go on it, the more acclimated your body's going to be in that way. So it depends on what your goals are. Like if you're shifting and you want to become a more liquidarian, where you're primarily only consuming juices and maybe solid, easy to digest fruit every now and again, then going on a liquid diet for a long period of time is amazing. And you do get those benefits. And it is a stepping stone toward going towards things like breatharianism, or even more so, where I'm shifting my body's needs away from a physical element to the more non-physical elements like air and sunlight and even ether, which is very possible. But so that's why I say it depends on what you want, because if you're looking for a juice feast to cleanse out your body and then you go back to eating, like cooked foods or denser things, then I wouldn't really recommend going for much longer than 30 days. Now, a 30-day period is you're going to cleanse out a lot of stuff, and it's a wonderful reset. It's a wonderful healing time. But anything longer than that, in my experience and just hearing from others, it does kind of shift things pretty considerably. And then the refeed afterwards can be, if you're trying to shift back into that space, it can be quite uncomfortable and almost even damaging in a way. Again, nothing is irreversible. Nothing is, but just something to consider. I used to be much more gung-ho about saying juice feasting was the best way to cleanse the body. Now, personally, I think with with everyone's lifestyle as they are, if you're not shifting towards this liquidarian state of being, I think going on a fruit cleanse is actually better, because you're still getting that same simple to digest way. However, you're still feeding, you're still getting the, what do you call it? The fiber within your diet, which is a helpful buffer and keeps your digestive system active, but it's still very simple, and fruit is very cleansing. So I kind of recommend a fruit cleanse over a juice cleanse, but both of them have their benefits, and juicing is it makes it a lot easier, because to go on a fruit cleanse, you do kind of have to be eating large quantities of it. And some people haven't trained their stomachs or abilities to do that, to fit their caloric needs for the day. And so juicing is a way to do that. So yeah, there's a lot of nuance to it. And again, it just kind of depends on what anybody wants. But just giving my sort of updated thoughts on juice feasting, and yeah, maybe that helps you or helps anyone if they're considering. But the only one that's going to be able to prove it to you and for you to know what your body calls for in its own healing journey is for you to experiment and try it. So I think having that courage to try something, do your research as best you can, but then you've got to put it to the test and see what comes out, and see how it works for you. So try going on juice for a few days to a week. I will say that if you do that, try and do at least 2 weeks, because the first week and a half are when the intense detox symptoms usually come about, when you're shifting off of cooked foods. And that I know from experience. That period is the hardest to shift through, but it is a very effective way of moving through that layer of detox quickly. So you're clearing out heavy metals, you're having some forms of parasites die off, and yeah, you're just really cleansing the body very fast. But if you stop at the week mark or so, you're kind of right in the middle of the deepest part of cleansing for that first little bit. So getting it to 2 weeks usually, and everybody's different, so I can't say definitively, but that's usually enough time for your body to kind of balance out again on the juices, and it's not going into that reaction mode anymore as much. But it does come and go in swings like that. So anyway, I hope all this is making sense. I feel I feel the challenge of describing this without knowing specifics on who I'm talking to and what they're wanting to do. So just trying to speak generally about it and giving my experience with it. But those are kind of my thoughts on juice feasting and length of time and all that good stuff. So yeah, I will just leave that there as from her kind of general questions, and give a pause and see if anybody else wants to jump in and take us any which direction, or speak on what I've spoken to, or any which way. So there you go. All right. So next question was from Olaf, and he asked about blue light blocking glasses. He's like, what do you guys think about blue light blocking glasses in JC family? And yeah, so I sent him a big study that I found that was like, for someone like me who loves charts and data and nerding out on that kind of stuff, I loved finding this website, because it basically went over all the major brands of blue light blocking glasses and determined which ones were most effective and which ones were kind of just gimmicky. And it did it through a very simple test for each one of them. And so just generally, what do I think about blue light blocking glasses? I think they're very helpful. The idea behind them is that as the sun sets, our eyes and our circadian rhythm, our body is wired to start slowing down. And blue light is a very activating light. And so the combination of our body trying to slow down from sunlight diminishing to then having blue light, which is very rampant in screens, LED lights, TVs, monitors, computers, phones, has a ton of blue light in it. And so this effect it kind of sends our body into chaos when it's like getting mixed signals about like, what's going on? I thought the sun went down. Why am I having this activating light energy? And so that starts to become very, very disruptive. And so the best thing is just to not use screens after the sun has set. That's ideal. And I know that that's not desirable for most, including myself. I like to do things at night. I like to, I enjoy the nights. And so I'm often taking care of things or responding to whomever or watching something. So I get that that's not always the desirable thing to do. So to sort of mitigate the harmful effects of the blue light during those times, it is great to reduce what hits my eyes. And so you can go about it in two ways. And I recommend doing both. You can have software on your phone. Most of them automatically have this setting where you can turn on. I know most new iPhones and Androids have this setting to where as the sun sets, your color gradient changes slightly to where it's giving off less blue light from the screen. So just make sure that's turned on. There are other apps and things that software that you can download and install on your computer or your phone, and it will do that as well and give you perhaps more customizable ways of doing things. I don't know all. I think it was Judy who recommended Iris. I haven't heard of that one, but I trust her judgment on that. So that might be a good one. I've used Flux on a computer. That's a great app, free, or has a free version that has pretty much everything you need. And and then you can tweak the settings to change how much color changes at what time. And say you're watching a movie and you don't want the colors to be shifted that much, then you can turn it off or whatever. So those are great to use. Would recommend doing that for sure. So that's one angle to reduce the blue light. And then the other is the blue light blocking glasses, which is what the question was about. And so these are often, they range from yellow to dark amber in color. Typically there are other colors, but that's the primary like scale. And so having that yellowish reddish gradient helps to block the blue light portion, but you can still see. So obviously if you wore an eye mask and blocked out all the light, then yeah, you'd be blocking blue light, but you couldn't see. So to have that lens put on is what helps to diminish the blue light and still be able to see. So I recommend wearing them at night, and I do. I have for the last 6 months or so. I got a pair, and I found the strain on my eyes has gone down considerably. Just that feeling of fatigue in my eyes is so much better at night when I wear them. So I make a habit of, as soon as the sun is set, I put the glasses on, and while I'm doing anything on screens, they're going to be on my face. Now you don't need to wear them, and it's not really recommended to wear them during the day because our eyes are already wired to be able to receive all forms of light during those times. So it's not really disrupting anything. It's only at sunset, and beyond that, it's advantageous to wear those. So as far as which glasses to get, as I mentioned, that study was great for me to go through and pick out different brands, and it has them all. You can rank them by cost and all of that. So you can really find the best ones that suit your needs and your budget. So I went with some that were relatively inexpensive, but another factor that to consider when getting blue light glasses is the orange and amber ones, the darker ones. While they do, in the studies and reports, they do block more blue light. So as far as just a raw effectiveness in blocking blue light, they do block more blue light. However, they have a much more noticeable effect on colors that you're seeing. So I didn't really want to, I wanted to be able to watch a movie and not have all the colors distorted while I'm wearing these glasses. So I ended up going with the best yellow glasses that I could find because they don't have as much effect on the colors. So that was sort of the happy medium of like, okay, what's practical? What am I going to actually wear without diminishing my enjoyment of what I do during that time? And while the yellow ones are not going to block as much blue light, it's still going to be blocking a lot of it, and I'm going to be more likely to wear them. So to me, that made more sense to have in that space. So just some thoughts to consider there. But yeah, I think it's a great thing to have. I'm very happy with the ones I got. I got them from a company called Zenni, I think, which is just a frames company, but they have good blue light lenses that you can get. I don't have a prescription, so just plain ones, but you can, with a lot of these companies, you can add your prescription to it if you have those. And yeah, I think that's about it on blue light glasses. I think they're a great thing to use. And yeah, he was asking, are they useful or pure marketing in a green market in a bubble where people pay over $100 for a product to have a better feeling? Yeah, so I paid maybe like $60 for mine, and I noticed the effect of them. I notice when sometimes I'll forget to put them on after the sun sets, and I'm like, oh man, I can feel a difference. And I put them on, and it seems to make, it's not a huge difference, but it's like just a less of a tired sort of strained feeling on my eyes during that time. So I really enjoy them. But of course, go with as you like. And there are very inexpensive ones out there that you can find for next to nothing if you just want to trial it and see what happens. They do have some on that same study. They had a list of very inexpensive ones that still reported back doing very good as far as what they were advertised. So yeah. So anyway, that's enough on that. This advertisement that I'm not getting any money for, but I like to recommend and things that I like to do. And on that note, I mean, yeah, I have considered diving more into, what do you call it? Like, I can't remember the name, like how you describe that, but essentially where you work with the company to, any sales you get or whatever, then you get a percentage. And I've thought about doing that so many times, but it just like, it feels like such a tangled thing to get started into. Maybe that's my resistance to to money or the thoughts around it in that. But at the same time, I'm just like, I don't want to market things, but I like recommending things that are cool and that work for me. And I love to do research and find the best stuff. So I'm happy to share those as well. Like it came up, just a side note, it came up, it comes up a lot when I go hiking with my Earth Runners, which are the sandals that I wear all the time. Like I don't wear any other shoes unless it's snowing out. And people always ask me when I'm hiking, like, oh man, you're hiking in flip flops. I'm like, no, these are actually very secure sandals that people go run marathons and climb mountains and rock climb and do all sorts of stuff with. And they're very secure, and they're grounding and all this other good stuff. And I just laugh to myself, like, man, I should be getting paid for these advertisements I'm giving people. But it is what it is. So yeah, I'll just leave that there. And I see Mary Louise raised her hand. Go ahead, sister.
Hi.
Yeah, hi.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. I would like to hear you speak about not using your power. And I had a session with my astrologer before the holidays, and he was like, yeah, you have a lot of Scorpio placements, and the ideal job for you is to be some kind of coach or therapist to show them what's hidden beneath the surface. And your depression like symptoms is you not using your power, and you're having anxiety because you're not willing to take risks. So can you speak about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, will you help me? Will you rephrase the question and help me understand a little bit better? So he's saying you have a lot of power in you, and you should move towards being like a coach or a guide. And so, what was your?
Yeah, I guess the Scorpio thing, it's all about what's hidden beneath the surface or something. Uh, and I have a lot of placements there, planets. Yeah, so I guess all my life experience, I need to guide people in some kind of way, but I'm not willing to take on my power.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're just asking like, what do I think about that, and how might
Yeah.
you do that more? Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Well, so the Scorpio energy is more. Most people know the scorpion for the symbol of that, but also the Scorpio symbol is the eagle, and it's actually the alchemical process of moving from the lowly scorpion that is, you know, very closed off and defensive and striking for anyone that gets in its range, to transmute that into becoming the eagle who has that high vantage point and soars above it all. So the process itself of a Scorpio is very appropriate for you know, what we all go through, but you having more of that energy within your chart, it's going to be more prevalent in your life. So most likely, and just knowing you, I know there have been many circumstances that you've been through, and challenges that you've overcome and are overcoming to help bring you into that space of strength, so that you have that awareness to share. It's like and I don't know your human design that well, but just to give an example, from a human design perspective, the role model, which is not everyone, but some people have the role model aspect within their chart, that has a time period where for like the first 50 years of life, it's often riddled with challenges to overcome, because in order to step in as the role model, experience is needed. You know, if somebody is trying to speak to those who are overcoming drug addiction, and they've never had drug addiction in their life, like, who's really going to listen to them? Who's really going to take that as a voice to stand behind if they have not experienced that themselves? So that person went through that hardship of going through drug addiction just so they would have the role model, become the role model for those others who are experiencing those issues. So, and this happens, you know, not just for role models, but this is part of that refining process that we're all going through. We go through our various challenges and hardships and things, some more so than others, but all of it's here to teach us, so that we're able to step into our power. And if you're being guided, if you feel that's a good assessment to stand in that, and knowing you, I know you have a lot of power, and it's a quiet, reserved power, at least in my experience. But I sense it, and I sense it's ready to come forward in bigger ways as well. And I think you do as well. And I think that's where that conversation was coming from. So having that knowing and sort of stepping into that readiness of like, okay, something is building within me to kind of transmute that scorpion from the scorpion to the eagle. How can I step into that? And as far as specifics go, yeah, it could look in a variety of ways, but even just talking about it or reflecting on it is going to help you identify those areas in your life where I'm not standing in my power, and not to always be dwelling on the not situations, but learning through contrast is one of it's a very effective way of learning. So to figure out those times in life where, just simply of where am I not speaking up for myself, or where am I not speaking up for others? Where am I diminishing my light or my presence out of fear of rejection, fear of just fear, just absolute fear for whatever the case may be. And I'm not saying this to, I'm just speaking generally. And so where can I pick up on those moments where I'm diminishing my light? Where am I allowing the perceptions of others change my behavior in any which way? Because anytime that I'm allowing the actions, the perceptions, the behavior of others change my trajectory any which way, then I'm a slave. I'm a slave to the external, and I'm not recognizing my power within. Because the Christ, that true power within, which is within all of us and budding within all of us, the Christ is literally unaffected by the external, because it knows all of that is merely an effect. It is not the cause. So to flip it into thinking that the effects are the cause, that's the great deception. That's what keeps us locked into that slave-like mentality, always diminishing our power. So just naming my process of working through that, which seems to be similar for others as well, is just recognizing all those times in my life. And I'm not saying to dwell on every moment and pick apart every single thing, but really just in the here and now, where am I diminishing my power? Where am I getting that sensation that, oh man, I wish I had said this to this person, or I really don't feel right how I left that, or I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, or something, you name it. And again, not to dwell on those as if it's, another space, another more ammo to beat myself up. I'm not suggesting that at all, but just to start recognizing these patterns. And if I didn't shift in that moment, then use it as leverage for the next moment where something like that comes up. And I start to get that feeling of like, oh man, I should really say something. I really feel compelled to step in here. So how can I do that? How can I do that in a way to where I'm being kind, but also Christ-like, and step in boldly, powerfully, to go into the lion's den, to do whatever I need to do, say whatever I need to say. And sometimes silence says more than anything else words could say. So I'm not saying that silence is a bad thing by any stretch. The different situations are going to call for different actions to it, but we can feel the vibrational resonance of, am I letting fear guide me through this experience, or am I letting that true Christ-like love guide me through this? And that true Christ-like love sometimes has to stand up to a bully. Sometimes it turns the other cheek and turns away because it's not even worth the trouble or the struggle to get into the weeds with somebody. The approach can vary infinitely as far as the specific circumstances, but the underlying guidance system is only one of two. There's only two, and there's really only one. There's one, and then there's the absence of that. So is the Christ guiding me in this moment to step into that, or am I being guided by the quote unquote other, which is just the absence of the anti? So if I can start to simply simplify my life experiences and everything within it, and again, like just throwing caution out there, disclaimer, like I'm not suggesting to overly analyze the shit out of every aspect of your life, because that can become a problem as well. But just in general, just have that openness and that awareness for, what is this moment bringing me? What am I stepping into? How am I responding to this? Am I reacting out of fear? Am I letting the perceptions or judgments or whatever of others, the actions of others, guide my decisions? Or am I staying true to myself? And then just bit by bit, slowly chip away at those moments where I find myself being pulled by that anti element, and moving back into the Christic way. And every time I make a subtle shift, it sends that resonance out there, and it starts to sink into the very core of my being. My whole being lights up through that, because it's like, you've got all the angels cheering for you as you overcome this new challenge. And that's why I love coming back to like the video game model of this experience, because whatever we're going through in whatever moment is exactly what we need to experience in that moment. And each character that we encounter, each circumstance that we encounter, is like in a video game, the thing that we have to overcome, the puzzle that we have to solve, the dungeon that we have to go through, the monster that we have to fight. All those as allegories, analogies to what we might be experiencing. So if that tough conversation happens and I didn't speak up for myself, and I diminished my power out of fear of rejection or fear of reaction from anything in the external, then inevitably I'm going to experience that again to give me another opportunity to try it. So don't try and don't dwell on the past of it happened and beat myself up for it, but use it as leverage for that next opportunity to say, okay, I've been here before. I remember how this was. I remember how I chose last time. Let's shift that. Let's try something different. Going back to the video game model, if you're trying to solve a puzzle in a game, or you're trying to go through this dungeon and weaving through these different ways, and you keep going to the dead end, or you keep going to the area where you fall to your death or whatever, and you respawn and you try it again, well, you're not going to do the exact same thing again, because you know the outcome. So every time we shift in that and reach that a different destination, we're learning something through it. And we're subtly chipping away at this resistance to stepping into our fullest power. And all of these beings and elements within our life are merely just aspects to inspire us to step into that fullest and highest power. And so we can look at them with gratitude. Those people that piss me the fuck off, that say whatever they do or treat me however this way, I can thank them. Not that they realize what they're doing, but I can thank them. I can thank the character and how it's showing up in my life for giving me that opportunity to grow through this, to do better, so that I become a more Christic being, which is not any more than I was. I just forgot. I forgot I had this power. But you see, this is so essential to have this process to go through, because we are so incredibly immature in our current state. We have fallen so far, and the traumatic patterning that exists within us, and our wild emotional states of flaring up and hurting others. With great power comes great responsibility. So if we were given all of this power now in our fallen state, we would hurt ourselves. We'd hurt each other so much worse than we already do. And we hurt each other a lot already. I mean, we're devastating to each other. We're cruel to each other. We're horrible to each other at times. So that power can't be given just idly. It's not just like, oh, free for all for anyone who has any form of awareness of just like breathing. It would be irresponsible for that power to be given in that way. So it has to be earned. So in order for me to signal to the divine, to this experience, that I'm ready to receive that power, I have to earn it. And the only way that I can earn it is if I approach each of these scenarios that life is continuing to bring me with that same steadfast commitment of like, okay, what am I supposed to learn through this? What am I supposed to gain from this experience? How can I shift my approach to this so I'm not repeating the same patterns that I've already done? I've already learned those lessons. So how can I learn different ones? How can I try something different? And through that process, it's just continually refining. That's climbing the rungs of Jacob's ladder. That's why there are degrees in Freemasonry, because it's all about approaching those different trials and getting through to the other side. And then just like the video game model, we go into a new level and a whole new realm of challenges we're faced with, but also a whole new variety of rewards come our way as well. that power starts to sink in deeper into us, and we have more ability to influence not only our own life, but those around us. And so that's only going to be continually given to us if we wield it responsibly, if we wield it in alignment with that high expression. Now, there is the dark path. I'm not going to sit here and say that that's the only way that you can go. There is the dark side of the force. There is the darker elements. There's black magic, blood magic. That requires sacrifice of something in order to gain power in that way. And I don't advocate going that direction, because there's always a price to pay. So there is, and it's short term as well. It doesn't last. So there is that route. If I want to use power, use knowledge over others, to wield power over them, to take advantage of them, to gain something in the material realm, to use that as power, there is certainly short-term, quick fix power in that way. But long-term, it doesn't last. It always burns out. So I much prefer the Christic power, which is much more powerful and much more pure and everlasting, and it feeds in of itself. It's that magnetic power instead of the dying electrical power that burns itself out and requires fuel to which is the blood magic. It requires like an offering in order to sustain itself. Whereas that magnetic energy, that etheric energy, it's perpetual. It doesn't ever end. And it actually can be wired in a way to feed in and of itself and augment its own power and continually grow. So that's for us to reclaim the toroidal field within us, this magnetic power station that we are, to where I'm allowing myself to respond in that reciprocating energy that the Christ represents. But I also get to choose to experience what is not, which is the dying electrical, the anti-Christ way. And I can experience that. And we all do both to some degree. And we certainly have done both. And we will do both, as to learn through contrasting elements of playing with each, but to find that and refine that so that I'm wielding that power in a way to where it is reciprocating. I'm feeling enlivened by it, and everyone around me is as well, and which is not always seen when those who are practicing in the anti-Christic way and perhaps not even realizing it, if they come across our power stepping in as the Christ, it doesn't mix well. And so there might be the outward appearance that we are being combative or problematic to those who are living the lie. The truth will always cut through the lies. And so if somebody is embodying that lying state, it's going to cut through them, and they're not going to respond well, and they will react violently. So there is that to remember, and so that's why our assuredness comes from the foundation that we've built, and that knowing within that, like, I'm doing what I need to do, regardless of the perception, regardless of the reaction of others who are in a fallen state or however else. I'm doing what I need to do this moment, and I'm not looking for validation. I'm not looking for approval from anyone else other than God, which is you at your highest form. So you're stepping into that highest self. Just be mindful of the ego trap of thinking your ego is God, and then it becomes a deceptive way of serving the self. So that's why consistent humility, always looking in the mirror, surrounding ourselves with others who are on this path so that they can check in, reflect back to us, is vital, so that we don't veer off into a dead-end cul-de-sac of false power, following the anti-Christic way, even when we thought it was Christic to begin with. I love, Darth has given a great analogy for how this can happen at times, where the paths might seem parallel at the beginning. You have two lines running upwards, and they might seem parallel at the very beginning. And they're so close to being parallel, but one of them is truly aligned 100% upwards, that 90-degree angle. One of them might be 89 degrees, 89.999 degrees. So it looks the same at the beginning, But the further you go down it, the further it starts to veer off that path. And then if we're stuck in pride and we're not humble enough to recognize that I'm going down, I'm veering off, then we keep going down that dead end cul-de-sac. And we believe that we're on the ascension path. And we'll stay locked into that until we hit our rock bottom, whatever that looks like, and turn around. So just be mindful of the ego's deceptive traps of causing you to step onto a veer off way, off that minutia degree off direction. So anyway, that's a lot of stuff on power, and it was a great question, but I do want to check in with you and see, is there anything more specifically that you'd like to get into just pertaining to your scenario, or was that good?
It was very good. It's just because it's so physical for me. I get anxiety all the time and my skin is itching. So I'm like, my throat is like, yeah, something stuck. And I don't know if I have to do something or just be with the process. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great feedback too. And it's I'll say that the wondering, I mean, at least in my experience, the wondering never ends. There are moments where it seems more definitive and sure, and then there are others where it's more wavering. Sometimes the process itself is merely an invitation to connect with patience and to connect with that surrender of allowing the divine to bring me where it needs to. And if I need to sit in this space of like uncertainty, maybe that's what I'm being invited to become more comfortable with, is just being okay with the uncertainty. So I can't, nobody can answer for anybody else. Anybody who tries to say definitively, no, this is happening for you this way because of this, then I'd recommend not listening to them too much, because your connection with the divine is yours and yours alone, no one else. But just generally speaking about it, it's that could be a possibility, is that you're just being invited to make peace to be at peace with not knowing, or there's something brewing and waiting around the corner. The expansive process is, as I've mentioned, that cyclical nature, the sine wave, the toroidal field. So there's going to be periods where it seems like there's not a lot going on, or I'm not receiving a lot of guidance, or, and then there's going to be times where it's like, holy shit, how do I even keep up with all this? So, yeah, for us to be at peace with either end of the spectrum is the gift. That's the peace that passes all understanding. So, yeah, I would just say your head's in the right place. You're asking the right questions. So just keep asking those questions, but without expecting any particular answer, and just be at peace with whatever unfolds for you. And, in those moments for me, I'm often tempted to distract myself a lot more with like shows or games or whatever, people or whatever form of distraction I can think of. And sometimes I do, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes for sanity's sake, a little distraction can be helpful when we're not ready to like really, really get silent or get still. Because sometimes the stillness is intense. Sometimes interacting with the void is really intense. So I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but as much as you're willing to really just be still and be okay with not receiving an answer, and be okay with the process of however that looks, and find the practice for you that really resonates in this moment, and don't get attached to how that has to look or what it's got to look like. And so whether that's yoga, meditation, hiking, even just listening to music, pick a favorite album, or whatever helps you get into that peaceful state explore those and see what comes up. Keep asking those questions, be in that state of openness. And yeah, this, as always, this too shall pass. So this period of not knowing will pass. And then when we feel like we know, that too shall pass. So just be okay with the wave and ride it as best we can. And that's why we're all here, to pick each other up when we need a hand, and to have that connection, that connected space. So don't ever hesitate to reach out in the group or privately or any which way. And you asking the question has been very helpful for me, just to talk about these things. And on that note, just to say, like, I love doing these shows because I'm not talking to anybody but myself. Like, of course I'm sharing, and I'm happy to share, and I'm happy to help, but I do this because it helps me refine my process. It's like literally wired into my human design. My authority is self-projected. So by me speaking things, it's one of, if not the most effective way for me to process. So thank you for the soundboard and the question to inspire that process. And I hope it brought some clarity, and and even if it didn't, just to be content with with the non-clarity, the confusion. So anyway, I'll pass it back and see if you have anything else. And if not, thank you again for the question.
You're welcome. I quit my job before the holiday, or actually in the car when we drove to France. So I have a lot of time knitting and just listening to podcast all day, but I think it's a little of too much distraction. So I think you're right that I need to be in stillness so I'm not getting overloaded. Yeah, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you as well. It sounds very wise. So yeah, keep us posted if you like, and we're all just going through this together. So yeah, I saw a couple other people raise their hands. So we'll start with Dennis. Yeah, go ahead.
Something good. Just a minute. Remember, you did my testimony with me, Justin.
Can you?
Not really clearly, but you, out of all of those that were like, oh yeah, you were the only one who actually did my testimony with me, brother.
Oh, well, I'm happy to help. Happy to hear from other. Yeah, go ahead.
I am so glad. I am so lifted to hear your words and terms and speak, especially on the Christos existence. And I just want to say that I really appreciate the depth and the breadth which you go to experience self, to help others. Chimigwech, brother.
Thanks, friend. Thanks, brother. I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say. And yeah, I mean, I love doing this. I love speaking about these things, and every bit of it, like I said, it helps me so much more. And so the Christ in me honors the Christ in you. I appreciate that very much, my friend. So thank you.
It helps us become so much better at speaking the words and the terms and putting the enunciations and pronunciations out into the now entanglement that make for magnificence.
Beautiful. The poetic weaving we love to do to describe the indescribable. It's quite the fun
brother. I really felt I needed to say that. And at the time when I put my hand up, I was actually jumping for joy at what you said. I wasn't even intending to speak. I wish Telegram had something like that where we could push a button and something would jump up and down saying, yeah, I love that.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I do wish they would add a feature like that. So if anyone in the Telegram space is listening, if you could add a reaction feature and a written chat feature to the live spaces, I think that would be wonderful to add to this. It really would add such a beautiful layer to that. But thank you again for the kind words and the suggestion there. And yeah, just happy to have you here with us. You're a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful aspect of us. And so thank you for that.
Well, we are power-filled oceans in droplets of creation. And it's just great to hear others sharing that way. And I thank you.
Oh, likewise, my friend. Thank you. Awesome. Cool. Well, I saw Tracy raise your hand. Go ahead, sister.
Oh, hello, everybody. How's it going? Sounds like everybody's doing okay, I think. Nobody's reporting anything crazy or negative. So I was just listening to Marie-Louise explaining some stuff, and she was saying how she was feeling a lot of anxiety, and she said she was specifically the thing about the throat. She's feeling there's something in her throat. And I have been experiencing similar. There's been kind of a, not necessarily too strong of anxiety, if you will, but there are times when I am doing more go-go juice than at other times. Like that has fluctuated, especially in the past 3 or 4 months as I had to move house and stuff like that, and shifting from spring to summer, and just a whole bunch of sort of changes that happened in my life that it was harder to be consistent with releasing and collecting go-go juice. So, and plus I know I now only have one fridge. It's not a huge fridge. It's not tiny, but it's still, before I had 2 fridges. So I was able to, use one for storing. So I like to chill my go-go juice. So that fluctuation is noticeable when I re-up and get it to be more like 2 to 3 liters a day. I notice the anxiety, and whether it's not necessarily anxiety, I think it's just I don't know if I can pinpoint it and say it's actually anxiety per se, but it's more of a heightened energy, and I just feel more in touch with stuff. So maybe that sort of that extra sort of I can't really say, like, it's extra energy or a knowing, and I'm just like more aware in each moment kind of thing, as I'm not just sort of on autopilot, if you will, because it's something I have to be like very in the moment and on top of. Like, don't get like too caught up in something online for too many hours or whatever, so I can't really say it's like anxiety per se, but I absolutely feel different from when I could feel the fluctuations of a smaller amount, like only a liter a day, as opposed to 2 or 3 liters a day. So that's something that does make a difference. But as far as the throat, I have over the past summer, like I'm not sure if it's because I've moved or I'm just like in a different, just getting settled and different things like that. And I had spoken a few months ago that I got in an accident, got hit by a car, and then had another bike accident shortly after that. So just been kind of recovering in the summer. And so I haven't been as active, obviously, trying to rest and recover. And so feeling it in my lungs, because I was much more active all through the spring and through the winter, doing a lot of hill walking, and then got into swimming and cycling throughout the spring and into June. And then since I've been here, it's been sort of different because of the area that I'm in, and I don't have as easy access to the ocean, I'm like really close to the ocean, but I don't have access here. This is not a swimmable area that I live in, so I have to go to different areas, but they're not as easy to access as where I used to live, so my activity is down. So I'm feeling a difference in my lungs, but there's also been something in my throat. So I'm not sure if it's because of, what's being sprayed, air quotes, or what, or if it's part of me going through different stages of detox, because I have done different things here. And something I'm doing recently is having a lot of pineapple smoothies. And of course I was very big all throughout the summer on my period lemons. and pure lemon juice, and that I was adding sugar to that. So something I wanted to also speak on was about the sugar thing, but I'll just get back to this. I'll get back to that in a minute. So just kind of, I'm not sure of having like, because I'm not somebody who ate a lot of pineapple before. I found it to be like so acidic on my tongue, and it would just be too strong on my mouth. So I found it not as pleasant, even though I really love it and love the taste and everything. But so I was able to find some here, so I kind of got in the habit of whatever I could find cheap, I'll focus on having that and not really specifically going, oh, I've got to have this fruit today, or I've got to have this one because of this reason. I'm just basically buying stuff that's local, that I could find at the right price, because I was really struggling financially for quite some time, and only recently have been able to get a little bit of that sorted in more of a positive way, a little bit more funds in my pocket to purchase the foods that I actually want to purchase, instead of what I have to, what's only available at my price point. So anyway, getting into a lot of pineapples, for maybe, I don't know, maybe it's been about a month now, but throughout the whole summer, it was like a lot of lemon juice. So I think that's like quite detoxing, if you will, like without sort of, attempting to detox with something as a daily thing that I felt really good with, and having, I never really count the quantity of how much I'm drinking per day, but it's basically 4 pretty good sized lemons, completely chopped, skin and all, take the seeds out, that's it. Just chopped, remove seeds, that's it. Keep all the peel, and then those are blended. And that makes up, by the time I add some sugar and extra water to it, I'll just I'll dilute it, because I only have one. My blender's not that big, so just make the puree, if you will, first, and then I put it into the big giant liters. So I can make about 2 liters out of only 4 lemons. So it's not a lot of lemons, but I believe the power in the peel. There's the power's in the peel. Okay, I swear. And my eyes just get so bright. My skin has this very obvious smoother texture, and there's a different vibrant feeling that I get from having that consistently. Like I'll drink easily 1 liter of that a day, and if not more, depending on how if I went to the beach and stuff like that, I would take a big bag of it. I didn't have containers, I don't have thermoses and stuff, so I was using Ziploc bags, and I'd make half a liter, put into a Ziploc bag, and I would freeze it and take it and have it as a slushie at the beach. So that was really nice. So I'm getting onto the pineapple now, and I let it sit on my terrace and get super ripe. And it's, oh gosh, it's so incredible. But I'm making smoothies with that as well, so I'm not eating it. I'll have a few pieces, but I still find that I don't have very good gum health. My teeth and gums are suffering, and I'm kind of genetically, actually, as well. My family. Anyway, sorry, just got sidetracking there, but so yeah, not eating a ton of the pineapple still, but just drinking it in the smoothies, and it's absolutely delicious, and I'm feeling a detox effect from that. Plus, I also doubled my HCQ, which I go on cycles of, taking the hydroxychloroquine, because I don't really have access to ivermectin or anything like that. I can't really buy stuff online. I don't have a credit card, so I just use what I can use. So I use the HCQ, which I purchased a while ago. I purchased like a year ago a big quantity of it. They sell it in a shop here at a international pharmacy. So it's the real deal, and it's a safe, completely safe brand product, whatnot. It is quite expensive though, but I did buy a stockpile of it, so I have I had enough to go until now, which I'm really grateful for. So I don't take it consistently, because you're supposed to stop from now and again, and it shouldn't be something taken long period, like over a year straight kind of a thing. It's really long. It's like a very, very, very safe drug that's been around for 60 years or something like that. I'm not sure. I'm sure people on here are familiar with the term HCQ. And I mean, it's part of the protocol of detoxing that people use with other things, but I've only used it by itself. And yeah, I put my faith into it that it's doing its thing, and I haven't done like really, really severe protocols of parasitic removal. Just sort of basic, and you know, however effective it is, I can't really determine, but I feel pretty good about it. I feel pretty good about myself. I can tell how my body is, and how it reacts and stuff like that. But I am currently detoxing because I just in this past week of going off of it for a bit and going back on it. So I'm doing a cycle of 2 a day for a week, and then off for like 3-4 days, and then start again for a week, and then maybe off for a week, and then on again for a week. And I'm on my on week, and I'm really feeling the effects of detox. That's why it may sound a little bit raspy. I'm having a bit of mucus being removed from my lungs. So, but before that, my throat was really scratchy, very irritated. But mostly if I let myself get dehydrated, that was something I had to be really careful of. It's just, if just sort of patterns of throughout the day. If I haven't had, well, actually, it was because I was talking a lot, leaving a lot of voice messages. I was talking a lot, so I have to make sure I keep myself hydrated. But it's getting right now. It's at the stage of removal, so it's feeling a lot better. And I just wanted to mention that because it was really something that was noticeable. Like it was, I was gargling with a little bit of baking soda and water. I was also gargling with go-go juice and stuff like that. So all those things seem to be able to relieve it, relax it. So yeah, just at the point right now, just in sort of not like a heavy detox of any kind, but I do feel I'm feeling a bit of nausea, a little bit of dizziness. So those kind of symptoms from the herxing makes me feel good because I can, being aware. I think it's a good thing and shows that something is working. And yeah, so that's kind of an update there. And other than that, I think, yeah, I agree. Some of the way that Dennis was just saying, how he loves hearing how you articulate and go into such depth on these topics. And yeah, I too have appreciated so much in this whole group here, the group effort of learning, the group effort of sharing. But you bring so much to the table. It's just mind blowing, and it's just you're so it's just so continually getting deeper and deeper. Some of the stuff, quite some time ago, I was not grasping a lot of these concepts. Now, just being able to have them repeated and topics brought up again and again has been super helpful. So thank you to everybody for doing that, because it's not like it's a one and done. We talked about it maybe a year ago, but there's like you said, you kind of shifted a little bit with the fruit juicing as opposed to the fruits fasting instead. Whole fruits fasting instead. So there's these little things that as we shift a bit and refine the ideas and whatnot. So it's this just has made my experience, from my perspective, I just cannot even imagine not having a group like this. And when I spoke some time ago, I was really upset because I was watching people at protests and stuff like that, and I got like really emotional, and I was saying, they just don't know themselves, they just don't love themselves. But what I really wanted to add to that was they don't know God's love. And it's something that was like in my mind for the longest time. I wanted to bring it up, but I was like, wow, you're just gonna bring up that topic. Probably nobody remembers, but I remember, and I wanted to say it to you. It's like it just was important to add that it's really God's love that they don't have. That is the saddest part. And so many of your songs speak of that. And the one is they're called they called again the Red Earth and the Pouring Rain. Do you remember that song? Um, Bears
Oh,
Den. That's the name of the band.
yep.
Bears Den. So I really love them. I go back and listen to that live a lot. Like I do that. I go back and listen to the lives all the time. Sometimes I do it right after. Because it's like 5 a.m. right now. I've been up for this one. It starts at 3:30 a.m. So then sometimes, especially when I'm a little bit sleepy or I have to walk away or something or go use the bathroom, so I miss parts of it. So I'll play it again right after when it's fresh. But I do go back and listen to a lot of the music and your take on stuff and your breakdowns. And that band and that show, which was like from May, actually in May. It was May 15th show, as a matter of fact. And so those songs were so beautiful and they really depicted what I was feeling. It says it's like, so I don't want to get into the lyrics of the song because my people will have no clue. I'll absolutely sing the melody wrong. But it was just, speaks of that as like, we are, to not have God's love, it's just, I'm not going to be able to express it right like the way, I wish I could right now, but I just wanted to say that just the lyric breakdowns, and the music that you choose, it's just mind blowing how, the ability that you have to do that. So I've kind of gone on kind of long here, kind of all over the place, but yeah, I just wanted to concur that you're amazing and we are also blessed to be here with you and to be with each other. So I love you all so much. Thanks.
Thanks, Tracy. That's really kind of you to say. And I can imagine this space without Tracy Two Star, but that is it's such a sad thing to imagine. It's so much. You're such a bright light and such a fun expression, because we're all just expressions of each other. And I just so appreciate you and your character and how you show up. And yeah, the ability that you bring of bringing that sort of grounded approach to reflecting on things. And yeah, I'm glad that we get to talk about stuff over again, because I learn new things every time we talk about the same topics. And then there is really nothing new to talk about. It's just different ways of bringing it together. And so I appreciate that so very much. I appreciate you so very much. And yeah, the aspect of the compassion that we can find for others who might react or act any sort of way. It's only coming from a lack of God's love, a lack of love of self, a lack of love. And not that it excuses behavior, but it does help us to know that, hurt people. And we can find that compassion to at least take away our own angst or anger from how they might be responding, and know that it's truly only coming from pain. So the pain that they might be inflicting on others doesn't even come close to the pain they're experiencing within themselves. So yeah, great reminder there. And yeah, thank you for drawing upon it, and thank you for sharing. So really appreciate you. And yeah, I saw a couple others had their hand raised. So we'll start with Sunshine and then we'll go to Peggy. So Sunshine, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad I made it, and so glad that everybody was here, and just love this time. All right, so I have a trillion questions, but I'll narrow it down to one for today. We were talking about when we die, not we as in the spirit or the light. We're talking about the body. What happens, and do you think is the true there? Oh yeah, somebody just called me. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we heard part of the question. So what happens when the body dies, and then we kind of lost you. So go from there.
Yeah. Okay. So, so I feel like pretty much because the body is important. Our bodies are important. And that goes, by mind, body, soul. So when you die, what is the proper way to like dispose of the body? Because now, I mean, I feel like, now they very much push cremation because it's a whole lot cheaper. And I mean, I feel like maybe there's a process that should happen with our bodies because our bodies are super important. And I'm wondering if you know anything about that, and what your thoughts are. I mean, I feel like because they push something a certain way, it's usually probably the opposite. But then I think about, because we're of the earth, that we should go back into the earth. But, that process is they, build these boxes that are, they say that your body will last like 500 years in this box. And I mean, it just seems all very commercialized, in my opinion, I think. And so do you think that there's a proper like ceremony or something with the body once it does die? That's my question.
Yeah, great question. So I would say that it's not about as much of what we are supposed to do with the body itself. Because at that point, it is an empty vessel, and not to diminish the what it represents, but from just a practical standpoint, like it's not like we're going to be punished or something bad is going to happen to us if we don't treat the body a certain way. So that's my perspective, at least. But what is important is our energetic relationship with that individual and what that represented, and the processing of moving through either the grief or the release, the celebration. All of these things are so much more important. So the details around what you do with the body, from my perspective, don't make a whole lot of difference. So if somebody feels appropriate to bury a body in a casket, that's fine. There's so much of this earth to go around. So like this idea that, that's going to take up too much space and all of that, it's just nonsense. There's so much space, don't crowd people that are living with dead bodies. I think that's appropriate to be considerate. But at the same time, there's so much space. So if that's the route you want to go for it. If you prefer the cremation route, I don't think there's any like dark agenda with that. I think it's more just practical and cost effective, and business drives that layer. And so people tend to go that route because there is a dark agenda to drive us into a scarcity mindset. So that's a more scarcity based approach of what people are often, due to cost restrictions, forced into. So I think that's the only reason there. But even if you go that route, like to create the personal ritual that you find appropriate with whomever is still living, to connect with that soul and have their body be this reminder, or the remnants of their body or the ashes or whatever, to be the reminder of the imprint that soul gave through this experience, and to celebrate that layer of consciousness affecting the space, to celebrate their line in the tapestry and what was woven because of it, and how it made the tapestries a brighter and more beautiful place to be. Which is, so whatever we're called to in that, I think is appropriate. So I don't think there's any one set ritual or way that it needs to be. And I think anyone that tried to define it for others is sort of missing the point too. Like so that's what I'm saying, to come back to like, what's the effects that it's having? So if it's, we're going to bury this person in the ground so that I can can be attached to this location and never let go of grief and all of that. Well, that's kind of detracting away from the life experience, but still probably a necessary process to go through so that we can release attachment to that and know that that body is not them. It was merely the vessel that's no longer being used. And at the same time, if we're so flippant and sort of just throwing dead bodies into a pit, like, where's the sanctity in that action? You know, where's the reverence to celebrate the life of what that individual gave, and that if that's being reflected in those actions. So I'm just using examples to kind of like how I view it, of just taking away from the importance of the specifics around what we do with this actual body, and how is this affecting everyone involved with this death, and what this individual meant in our lives, and how we're processing that, and how we celebrate it, and process our emotions, and all of that together. So I'm sure there's many schools of thoughts around what we're supposed to do, but that's what I like to go with, because it leaves it open. It's not restrictive or dogmatic about anything in particular. And even just the hyper focus of death itself, and that it has to be full of grief, and this is based on this fear-based reality that this life is the only one that we have in this physical space, and which is pushed onto us by society, either from a religious perspective or from a quote-unquote scientific perspective. It diminishes life out of fear of death. So any way that we can reduce that fear of death and recognize that it is merely just a transition, it is merely just a chapter change of like, okay, well, this life reached its finite end. Not to say the soul end, as you mentioned, but this incarnation, this combination of mind, body, soul, to put it simply, it didn't work out anymore. It somewhere along the way, the toxins caught up to them, the mental strain caught up to them, the lack of desire to live caught up to them, which is not a bad thing, or something happened, to end it in a different way, and that happens too. But something happened, and so it's just a chapter change. It's just a shift. It's just a change in the format, a change in the configuration, and life is going to continue, and that soul will still add to the life experience outside of that particular body. So any way that we can reframe our mindset around that, so we're not looking at it as this dismal thing to dread and fear, and that death is the end of everything, and I think that's wonderful. I think that's the practice that we should be doing. And however we want to set the intention and have a tradition within a family, I think that's wonderful. Like traditions, and traditions can be amazing because they act as connective points throughout generations. They act as this way to preserve it's like a way to reach out to another generation that lives, seemingly long ago, and maintain that same sort of energetic space. So I think traditions can be wonderful if they don't turn into dogma that we become attached to, like, oh, you have to do this, or you're, X, Y, and Z, you're going to be cursed, or, experience this or that. Like anything that becomes fear-based, or like you have to do this just because, I don't ascribe to that. But I think voluntary traditions can be a wonderful thing to uphold and to use, and rituals that grow in that way can be beautiful as a way to practice and honor and treat something as sacred. And then we can expand that to where we make every moment sacred, every conversation, every time we prepare food, every time we go anywhere or whatever. It's all a sacred experience, and we maintain that reverence of recognizing what this really is, which is so magical beyond description. And so having those practices can help to bring that reverence and remind us of the appreciation, and act as those kind of like memory jars to snap us back into that if we need that. So I hope that makes sense. It's not really a specific answer, but just generally giving my perspective on it. So I'll pass it back to you and see if I can clarify anything further, if that was good.
Yeah, no, that was good. I mean, I feel like also the same as you, is that my mindset is completely changed on, say, when somebody died and you're like, oh, it's a horrible loss, as to now, it's almost like, see, on the flip side, you know what I mean? Like there's no, I just don't have that sorrow, or sadness, as I would, before I had the knowledge that I have now. I also wanted to say, I totally agree with you. If you haven't traveled, even just in the United States, you have no idea when we say that there is land everywhere. Like the idea that they've convinced the masses that like even going a state over is such a chore and you're going such a long way is just hogwash. Because when we were traveling, it's like, okay, what, like what, it wasn't like what town to go, like, all right, what state are we going to go to next? And it really was not like, oh, it's only, like, I don't know. It just, and you just see that we have, like I said, just so much, so much land just in the United States alone. It's just crazy how they've, like I said, boxed your mind into believing, that, well, there's hardly any land here and you have to all bunch into this, a city and stuff. Because there's just nowhere else for people to go. And yeah, I don't know. But I used to be one of them until I traveled and I was like, holy crap sticks. There is, a shit ton of land everywhere. I had no clue. I also wanted to, okay, so about the death thing. I don't remember. I think it was in 2020 when everybody was listening to the, I think it's the Blue Tent. The Blue Tent, when they were doing the Jesus 1 and 2. And I think Michael Prodsman was on there. And anyways, I think it was on their channel that they said that about suicide. And no, nobody I know or me is thinking about suicide. So just making that clear. But they said that it was the church that, because people knew that once you were out of this body, you were just going on to the next, just like a game, like a redo. And so people were like slaves and stuff were like offing themselves because they're like, well, this is some bullshit, basically. And then like the church stepped up and was like, all of a sudden, if you did that, you were going to hell. And they used it as a fear, fear programming so that you didn't do that. What are your thoughts about that as well, if you have time? And if not, it's okay, because I'll be on next time and I have like way more questions. So if you do have time, that would be fantastic if you could just give me your thoughts on that. Thanks.
Yeah, happy to. And I think Peggy was on, but I think she might have hopped off. So yeah, we'll go into the suicide perception and what's up with that. So I find suicide to be a very sad thing, for sure. It's because it's like, but not necessarily in the same ways that the church pushes this whole like you're going to hell if you do that kind of thing. So that's a very punitive mindset around not doing it. I find it just sad because it's knowing what I know and what I've experienced and what I've felt about how beautiful this life is and how amazing even those moments where it's it's seemingly like devastating and sad and painful and all of that, even those moments I find to be beautiful to have, because it gives the full spectrum of what we can experience. It's like, I don't want to experience, I don't want to have to paint something and restrict what colors I have to use, what colors I can use, which would be, that would be what I would be choosing if I said, oh, I don't want to feel sad anymore. I don't want to feel pain or any of those kind of things anymore. Well, it's like, that's a part of the experience, and it's what makes the whole thing so vibrant and colorful. So when somebody goes the suicide route, it's like, it's really sad, because it's abandoning this beautiful experience that we're having, and it's almost, it's like a waste. It's a waste, because it's like the whole life they've grown up and gone through the struggles and overcome various challenges, and then to get to that point where it's like, it's not worth it. To me, just, it's like a story that doesn't really get finished, or at least not in that life cycle. Of course, it always does get finished, because they're just going to come back. So, but in that sense, it feels like a waste. It's like an incomplete. It's like, oh, that's so much effort of consciousness to go through all of that, and then to just not even try anymore. That it's sad. And I get it. I get why, I get why people get to that point. And I haven't necessarily been through the most horrific experiences in my life. So I don't know where my limit would be, where I'd say this is too much and I have to end it. I think everyone has that. There's likely some level of torture that if we experience long enough and we had the option to end it through that, we'd probably choose it. So I'm not downplaying the level of suffering somebody goes through in order to reach that decision, but it still is very sad. It's sad in that sense. And it's also just in the practical way of looking at it. If it's being used as an escape, it doesn't really work, because, well, it does in the temporary and perhaps the immediate, but it doesn't work in the sense that we come back. I believe that. I believe if we kill ourselves in that kind of way, now that there's likely various forms of that, where if, like, say we jump in front of a bus and we knew we weren't going to make it in order to save the child, like, there's other ways that can happen that are outside of just the trying to run away from suffering. But in that path of trying to diminish suffering, it doesn't really work, because we're going to reincarnate, and we're going to reincarnate from the vantage point of our highest self, which that free will kind of trumps our smaller free will, our lower free will, our egoic free will. And so at that highest level, we want to learn from the experiences that we signed up for when we came into this. And so if I give up in that lifetime, well, I'm just going to go back and experience it again, and maybe a slightly different way, until I get to the point where I transmute it and rise up through it. And this is like, yeah. So just from a simple practical perspective, it's like kind of ineffective. It's not really going to help in the long run of getting away from whatever it is that we're afraid of. You can't run away you can't bypass it. You have to go through it. So from that sense, it's also sad to feel like there's wasted effort of somebody who has to go through that again just to get to that same point, and hopefully they'll go through it this time. So there's that. But as far as the church's response that you're going to get punished if you do these kind of things, that's a distortion from what I just mentioned of this kind of like, yeah, in a healthy Christ based society, there's not going to be any advocacy for suicide. There's not going to be, oh yeah, that's just a viable option that we'd recommend. But at the same time, there's not going to be shaming and guilting people who consider that or think of that. In a Christ-like society, any time that somebody was even tempted to do something like that, that's a huge marker to say, okay, let's focus in on what's happening here. What's causing this amount of suffering? Is this self-induced, or is there some external circumstances that need to be shifted? That's the healthy response, not to shame people and say you're going to go to hell if you do it. That's just more, again, that's the distortion away from the simple path of the living. So of course, we're not going to advocate for you to kill yourself, because the death path is the anti-path. So it's not the way. But in the same moment, I'm not going to judge or shame somebody because that's the way that they choose to go. It's like it's just met with the sadness that creation, that layer of self, chose to go that way. So yeah, that's I think that's just simply what I view on it. And I will say that I'm also maybe harsher than some would expect in that area too, of like, I also don't at all I don't feel a lot of sympathy for people who threaten suicide in order to get what they want. I think that is a very low form of being, and it's, if someone is to that point and they're using that as a weapon against others, then that's not right either. That's certainly not right. It is sad for someone to feel that way, certainly, but I don't have whereas some would feel like, oh no, we've got to do everything to stop them from doing that. I'm almost like, fine, like, don't threaten me with that. Your life doesn't hold power over me. So do it if that's your route, still with that same sadness of like, if that's the choice that they're making, it's very sad. But I'm also not going to give in to this threat that like suicide can be used and has been used to manipulate people. So I don't like that at all. So just want to throw that layer into it. And yeah, it's and to some people that might seem very harsh, but when one releases their fear of death, and of course it's a process, but just to have that, it's not something that holds that same kind of weight. But if you live in the death cult and death is the only thing that you're focused on, it becomes the end result that you're going towards, whether you realize it or not, the death cult, the antichristic route, and then that becomes a whole different ballgame. So yeah, I think that's about it on the topic that I want to say in this moment. So I'll pass it back to you and see if go ahead, Darth.
Hey, so there's a lot of information on reincarnation that is pretty much beyond dispute. So in Matthew chapter 16 verses 13, Mark chapter 8 verses 27, and Luke chapter 9 verses 18, that's the majority of the gospel accounts. There is an account where Jesus Christ is talking to his disciples, and he says, "Who do the people say that I am?" And the disciples, they start bringing up the popular opinions. They say, some people say you're John the Baptist, who had just been executed. Some people say Elijah. Others say Moses or one of the other prophets. So his disciples, the disciples of Jesus Christ, were promoting the idea and the possibility of reincarnation. And Jesus Christ did not correct them. And metaphysically, reincarnation is a very highly likely thing. So so at the time of Jesus Christ, the population was very much in favor of reincarnation, and he never corrected the population. He never taught anything different. Now the Jewish religious leaders, they did not believe in reincarnations. The Sadducees, they didn't believe in anything after death. You die, that's it, done, over, period. The Pharisees believed in resurrection, but they only believed in resurrection if you followed the law. And the only one who could successfully follow the law in their own eyes was them. So, so you can kind of see the narcissistic, parasitic nature of both those religious groups. But the rest of the world all believed in reincarnation since basically the beginning of time. And in the Christian church, they also believed in reincarnation. That was like an official part of Christian theology, up to 300 or 400 years after the death of Jesus Christ. So let me see here. So it was Emperor Justinian who first officially cracked down on suicide, and it was because the church had become so oppressive and was strangling the common people so tightly that people were choosing suicide rather than continuing to be forced to serve the new Catholic Church. And so they did start officially opposing that viewpoint and going after people that were teaching reincarnation, in order not out of any search for the truth or any care of what was good or right, but in order to secure their own power, because whole groups of people were committing mass suicide just to get away from the Catholic Church. It was pretty bad. And then it was the Council of Nicaea, and one of the other emperor councils, where they then made it official. So if it wasn't for that group, most of Christianity today would believe in reincarnation. It's a completely natural way of thinking. It's about as normal to think of reincarnation as it is to think of that we live in a level earth. Because if you look at our experiences just from our day-to-day life, all of the experiences around us change, but the fact that we're the one observing it never changes. And that stays constant throughout our entire lives. Constantly changing experiences, a never changing observer. And so death would just be one more change. And the fact that there's the change is always occurring, that the change is constant, inevitable, and unstoppable, would mean that after you were dead, the next change would be that you're alive again. So reincarnation is an extremely rational, extremely logical way of thinking. And it is very much permissible in the metaphysics, in the spiritual metaphysics and the divine law. And it was the Catholic Church that killed that knowledge, but they only did so to secure their own power.
Yeah, that's a great layer to throw in as well. And so it's like it's not a one size fits all in every scenario kind of thing. I could see there being a powerful act of revolution to trust in reincarnation so much that you use that to fight the oppressive nature, and then that's what built the perspective around it being you're going to hell, so we induce this fear to stop our slaves from killing themselves so that we can have more slaves. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, Sunshine, I'll pass it back to you. Did you have any more thoughts or shares on that?
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. Thanks, Dorothy. I appreciate that, because I can see it being as a control mechanism for them, because it's fear. But I also want to say that's so strange that you said that, Justin, because I'm the exact same way as you. And even before I knew, like what I know now, the knowledge that I have now about death, I've never had like this. Yes, it is sad. I also feel like it's super selfish. So I've never had that like compassion or allowed somebody to manipulate me with the, well, I'm going to kill myself. Okay. And so I used to think that like I was just, very, just not nice, like when it came to stuff like that. But, I feel like I probably maybe at some point was pretty manipulated by that. And, it's very powerful when you believe like, oh my gosh, they're going to go to hell, especially if you commit suicide. And, now I'm just like, all right, bummer. You know what I mean? Like, good luck. So I do have that same, whatever that is, just not, I have just no tolerance for that nonsense. And so I'm probably, like I said, probably a little more harsh than normal people are. And I'm okay with that. I mean, maybe I need to work on it, whatever. But I feel like it's usually a manipulation tactic. But yeah, fantastic conversation. And thanks so much. And I will let the next person ask a question or whatever. So thanks. And I'll talk to you guys next week.
Awesome. Thanks, sister. Yeah, agree completely. And yeah, I'll pass it over and see if anybody else wants to jump in. I think, as I said, Peggy was on here earlier, but I think she hopped off. So is there anybody else that would like to jump in, ask a question, share anything, speak about any topic we've talked about already, or take us into a new subject? You're more than welcome. Hi, Flora. Go ahead. Yeah, you just had to hit that same button again to open up your mic, and then you can.
Oh, okay. I think now you can hear me. So I felt inspired to share about my journey with Oren, or go-go juice, how Tracy likes to call it, because it ties into, I forgot the person's name who asked about like power and how we can like own our power. And because I started drinking my Oren about 3 months ago now, and accompanied by heavy detox and whatnot, but I can really sense that it helped me to, not question myself so much anymore, and just really have this inner guidance from my heart. And also what you mentioned with distracting myself with shows and just trying to find answers in all different sources outside. I kind of lost more and more the interest in that. And I mean, I'm still listening to this here, but it just got narrowed down a lot. And I could also see a lot of ways how, like before, I thought already that I was loving myself, but when I started with Oren, I could see a lot of ways how I was still manipulating myself to be more liked, or even to live up to a standard that I made up in my mind, but that wasn't really heart-led. I'm wondering if I have anything to add to that. That's kind of just it for now, where I felt, that really helped me to own my power and to step into that. And so I felt like sharing that. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad you did. That's a great comparison to, like, it's such a beautiful physical representation of that power within, which is the Oren, this golden elixir that I know not everyone's comfortable with. I know everyone is on their journey for recognizing it. Some still might be rejecting it completely, and that's okay. It took me a while. It took me quite some time before I became more comfortable with it and tried it. And so congratulations to you for taking that step and for joining the club of the crazy pea people, because it is quite the one to be in. But but at the same time, the benefits are just so powerful. You're tapping into your own reserves and your body's informational system, this connective way of how can I transmit this energy that is full of information, full of signals. How can I return it back to the self and then act as I mentioned, that magnetic, perpetual, reciprocating power. What more perfect example than that? And there have been many people who have gone on extended times without food, and Orin is the only thing that they consume. I haven't been able to do that for longer than 8 or 9 days or so. Still very powerful in that. But I know people like, I don't know him, but I've listened to people like Chris Manley, who's got a great perspective, and he talks about how he did almost a solid year, and that's all he drank. That's all he sustained himself on, was just that. He said he would have little bits of time where he might, want to experience taste, and he would go into a grocery store and just sample a few grapes. But that was it, maybe a few grapes every few weeks. And the rest, it was just orange, just looping. So you talk about tapping into that power and a physical practice to do that, to have that recognition of where, okay, so just for me, one of the reasons why I was unable to stay in that way, or maybe unwilling to go past this point, but after a certain point, when I start to detox in that way, my Orin becomes very acidic. And this is probably a reflection of deeper areas of cleansing that I'm going through. But it becomes to the point where I could not tolerate drinking it. So that's why I usually would stop in those moments. But other people don't report the same thing. I think we all have different compositions and things show up in different ways. But to recognize this information system of what it's bringing to me. And there are days where I don't engage with it as much. I don't think there's any day that I don't engage with it at all. But some days it's like very minimal. And I notice the difference on those days versus the days where it's a more regular part of my day. I'm looping more. I'm putting it on my skin. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling that vibrancy in that way. So yeah, as far as like untapping this potential of power that for most everybody is just being thrown away, it's huge. And it's like so representative of the divine nature of who we are, that what we might have once regarded as a waste product is actually our perfect apothecary to match and respond to whatever ailments we have within our body, and to remove whatever things need to be removed. So thank you for bringing up that example. It's again, it's a somewhat taboo subject. Though for those who've been listening for a while know my experience with it, and I appreciate the ability to speak openly about that. It's still not quite there with most, and that's okay too. I wouldn't recommend just broaching that subject out of nowhere. Approach it cautiously with those, because it's a tricky one to get into. But the potential is truly limitless as far as what it can bring to us. So thanks, Flora. Thanks for bringing that up. And yeah, it's a great little add to the power conversation. So thanks for that.
Hey, Justin, I'd like to pop in and add something too. Thank you, Flora, for adding, for speaking on that. And I really loved how you stated that as well. And I absolutely get that. For myself, I am into my journey that is about, oh my gosh, I'm coming up on 2 years, right around now. So that's shocking to say that, actually. because I really feel, gosh, it doesn't feel like that much time has passed for sure. So, but I'm 2 years into it, and I started out slow. I started out with just, doing like shot glasses a couple times a day, then a cup at a time, and then, multiple cups a day. So, and then I got up into my detox time. I was up to 4 liters a day. So I was kind of going crazy, but it's been an incredible experience. I have not been one to sort of share too much documentation on it in the channel. I have compiled stuff, and I have an amazing collection of evolved Orin that I saved from then, going from the end of 2023 and into spring of 2024 up until March, April, May, and I was collecting all that time. And I then put them all in glass containers, put them up on a shelf, kept them airing with cloth on top, and a whole bunch of them evaporated. And there was a little bit of sun would come in certain seasons and into this one kitchen window. So it would hit the one shelf and of all these bottles. I had them all lined up so the sun would actually come in and hit them for a long period, for like a year. So they all evaporated. So when I had to move a couple months ago, I was really upset because I had to pour out. I was bathing in it, but I had like jugs of it saved. And okay, I know it's not the best thing, but I didn't have all glass, but the glass stuff that I was saving was to be consumed. The plastic stuff I saved was to be soak my feet in. So I was able to have like big, huge 5-liter water jugs that I would eventually fill up and then let them evolve as well outside on my terrace on a shelf, but they weren't in the sun. So I don't think it was good. It wouldn't be good to get plastic for a plastic bottle to hit the sun, I don't think. So I never did that process there, but I just let it evaporate outside. But I did have to get rid of a lot. And then the bottles that I had that were contained up on the shelf, some of them evaporated all the way. And at the very bottom was all the crystally stuff, right? But this was my early years of detox. I was only 1 year off of milk and meats, but I was only probably 6 months off of like fish. So, and then into spring 2024, so like summer of 2023 is when I had my, like July was the last time I had shrimp, any animal products. So anyway, so going over the period of, so I could look at, and I documented, I got photos of all the different jars and what they looked like and how the sediment would then turn into this most incredible paste. Now, other ones, depending on as I progressed through my cleanse, like just cleaning up my diet, and as time progressed and my body started shifting, my urine got so clean that the crystals would form right away within a day, whereas it would take a long time before, and they weren't as like refined and clear looking. It was, it was darker and whatnot, but still, I constantly, what do you call it? I took all the, what I could out of all the jars and bottles that I had, got rid of them all because I didn't want the quantity of all that stock, all the bottles and stuff like that. It's too much volume of stuff to take to this new place, much smaller place I'm living in. So I really did want to just put everything in a box and shift it, but I had to hide it because of my ex. But I did have some. I just couldn't get the quantity that I really had. I did bring some, and I had to say that it was kombucha. I couldn't tell the truth. I couldn't tell them. I just didn't want to go through it. So I wasn't prepared to do that. So I just wanted to, so I did shift a bunch over here, and I still have some out that is in glass jars, glass bottles that's sitting on my terrace and getting the sun to evaporate it again. So I've been doing various processes of different stuff collected at different stages. I do have now a collected jar from all of the bottles that I said that I had to get the what was evaporated at the bottom, all the crystals at the bottom. So I collected all those together. I have a jar of that in my fridge, and it's the the most like incredible earthy, clean smell. Like it's there. Of course, it's gone way past the stage of all ammonia being removed. That takes quite some time, depending on the volume of the container you have. So, anyways, so I've had like I use fresh and like maybe 1 or 2 days aged, or some fridge stuff, whatever it is. But I use it every single day on my face, every day. It has absolutely transformed my skin. And it's so simple. Like what she was saying, this has made me exactly really in tune with myself, really in tune with whatever I'm consuming and feeling and going through, and the process of being in the now, because of how you have to collect and process in the day, how much you need to consume, and then you have to get your sleep patterns on, and then have to like coincide with all your scheduling of what you're doing and going out to do and stuff like that. So it takes a lot of planning, and it's and to keep the process organized. And it was a lot of work, but I've really enjoyed it. I wasn't looking at like doing it in any specific way. Like I've got to go and do it like this. So I didn't really listen to other people's, stories too much. Only out of, I really just didn't have the time to. Not that I sort of chose to, but I just wanted to do my own thing and just let it flow and let it be as natural as possible. And it surely is. It's just being able to see the transformation of my body through it has been incredible. But my skin has absolutely transformed, like I said, but I got like, I used to not have adult acne per se, but kind of a little bit in my 40s, early 50s. And I had like perfect skin. I never fussed with my skin throughout my whole life. I had pretty good skin, just genetically, and never wore a lot of makeup. So just never fussed with it. But I've got a little bit of, I think, the hormonal change, females hormonal change in the 40s, so just my skin started to react to that. But I never break out. I had the odd one in the summer, just from being super sweaty, using coconut oil on my skin, just kind of that kind of an irritating thing, not really necessarily like a breakout per se, like an acne breakout. Anyway, and I put this stuff that I have, a little jar of stuff in the fridge, little glass jar. I put some on and like, boom, just gone, completely gone. Like it works so quickly, and cuts and things like that. I haven't used large quantities, like, making a sock to soak in like or fabric to soak in an injury, which I wish I could, but I just sort of, if you will, it's kind of difficult because you got to have like a certain kind of bed. You've got to put plastic down, and you don't want anything being spilled and stuff like that. So the cleanup and stuff, especially when you're not feeling well or injured, it's a little bit tedious, too much. But anyway, kind of going on and on. But it has been, like she said, it's just this. You could be so in tune with yourself, and be having this constant cycle that you can experiment with, how deep you want to go with it and how you want to express with it. Yeah, so it's been an incredible journey. I know it's not like you said, a lot of people really maybe are completely turned off by it or interested in it and not really keen to try it. But yeah, it took me a while too, from the first hearing about it. It took me about a year to finally try it within these groups that we have here. And it's during periods of time when I've actually been really struggling with, I had to ration food and stuff like that. And as well, shifting off of like taking supplements and vitamins and stuff. Oh my God, the change in my everything. It is just incredible, the testimony I could give of how the health benefits, sort of, I was a little bit concerned about didn't have enough money to buy like sort of gorge on fruit, if you will, just to have more consistent fruit each day. I was having to ration it. So I was a little concerned, like I felt a little bit depleted, and the go juice just took over, took care of my body in ways that I was able to see, just incredible, really, really incredible. I'm really so grateful to have learned it. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Tracy. It is something to explore into, and yeah, you talking about refining the crystals, and that's a research path to go down if anyone's curious on. I mean, it's hard to find information about it, but it's there about refining gold from our orin, the ormus. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, and there's so much potential, and that's why it's exciting for more people to explore this, because it's like we all have our different experiments and ways that we're testing it and trying it, and I haven't heard of anything that's really negative from it. I still don't think you can hurt yourself with it. I mean, obviously you could drown yourself with it, but like you really can't hurt yourself with it. It only has benefits, or it's neutral, but there's no risk involved to it. It's really so powerful. So thank you for sharing and just adding your testimony on that. So I appreciate that. And yeah, I'll just pass it back and see if anybody else wants to jump in. We've got a little bit more time left, but yeah, so see if anybody else wants to give us anything before we do. All right. Well, I'll take that as a sign that we covered all the spaces we need to today, but feel free to interrupt me if you have any closing comments or things you want to say as we're wrapping up. But I will use this time to go over the lyrics for the 2 songs I want to play us out with. So let me just pull those up. So again, Big Thief is the artist, and we're going to be playing the songs Not and then Masterpiece. So the song Not might not make a lot of sense unless you see it, and then it makes all the sense. So I'll read them because it's kind of poetic and fun to go through, but just to give you the answer of what's being described here, it's, as I mentioned, we love to describe the indescribable. We can't really describe what God is, what the void is, what the silent observer is. It's beyond words, it's beyond description, it's beyond all those things. But we can describe what it's not, which is everything else that we can describe. And it is that too, but it's beyond that. So that's what the song is getting at, is it's this, yeah, it's just how do we describe the divine? Well, you can't. So let me try it this way. So it's not the energy reeling, nor the lines in your face, nor the clouds on the ceiling, nor the clouds in space. It's not the phone on the table, nor the bed in the earth, nor the bed in the stable, nor your stable words. It's not, so, it's not the bed in the stable, as in it's not the physical form of Yeshua being born in a manger, but it's not the formless being, nor the cry in the air, nor the boy I'm seeing with her long black hair. It's not the open weaving, nor the furnace glow, nor the blood of your bleeding as you try to let go. It's not the room, not beginning, not the crowd, not winning, not the planet, not spinning, not a ruse, not heat, not the fire lapping up the creek, not food, not to eat, not the meat of your thigh, nor your spine tattoo, nor your shimmery eye, nor the wet of the dew. It's not the warm illusion, nor the crack in the plate, nor the breath of confusion, nor the starkness of slate. It's not the room, not beginning, not the crowd, not winning, not the planet, not spinning, not a ruse, not heat, not the fire lapping up the creek, not food, not to eat. Not what you really wanted, nor the mess in your purse, nor the bed that is haunted with the blanket of thirst. It's not the hunger revealing, nor the ricochet in the cave, nor the hand that is healing, nor the nameless grave. It's not the room, not beginning, not the crowd, not winning, not the planet, not spinning, not a ruse, not heat, not the fire lapping up the creek, not food, not to eat, not to die, not dying, not to laugh, not lying, not the vacant wilderness vying. It's not the room, not beginning, not the crowd, not winning, not the planet, not spinning, because it's not spinning. So that's that song, Not. And it's a really beautiful song. And the lyrics are quite poetic, but it's simply that, the divine is beyond all of those things. It is all those things and beyond all of those things, beyond words, beyond description. So that's that song. And then Masterpiece. Years, days makes no difference to me, babe. Time makes no difference to the Christ, makes no difference to the divine. You look exactly the same to me. Ain't no time crossing your legs inside the diner, raising your coffee to your lips, the steam. So, as Darth mentioned, the observational point is the only thing that is stable and consistent, which is your observation. But the setting changes. Everyone around changes. Everything changes. You saw the masterpiece. She looks a lot like you. So you saw the divine in me. You saw that Christ in me. Wrapping her left arm around your right. So the left unified with the right. The marriage. Ready to walk you through the night. So that symbiosis walking us through those darker moments. You whisper to a restless ear, can you get me out of here? If we find ourselves overwhelmed with the external experience, this place smells like piss and beer, can you get me out? So this fallen experience we've found ourselves in, you were asking me how to get you free. I only know the recipe to Rome. So there is no savior that can pull us out. We have to realize and pull ourselves out.
Justin, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, go ahead.
You said it smells of piss and beer?
Yeah.
Right? It's because they knew. Because urine, right, is good, but the beer is bad. Because the alcohol takes you down the dark path, but the urine takes you down the bright path. So perhaps they knew.
Ooh, good catch there. I like that. Yeah, the dichotomy, the duality of these two compared together. Nice. You saw the masterpiece. She looks a lot like you, wrapping her left arm around your right, ready to walk you through the night. So again, the marriage to walk us through. Old stars filling up my throat. You are the stars. As Santos Bonacci likes to say, we are the mass stars, the spin stars, the superstars. We are the stars filling up my throat. You gave them to me when I was born. This is this birthright, the Christic birthright that we all are. Now they're coming out. It's expressing itself. Laying there on a hospital bed, your eyes were narrow, blue and red. So the way is straight and narrow. The eyes are blue and red, as in redshift, blue shift. The masculine and feminine, the lower and the higher, the merging together. You took a draw of breath and said to me, you saw the masterpiece. She looks a lot like me, wrapping my left arm around your right, ready to walk you through the night. Old friends, old mothers, dogs, and brothers. There's only so much letting go you can ask someone to do. So I keep you by my side. I will not give you to the tide. I'll even walk you in my stride, Marie. So Marie being the divine feminine, the sacred mother. And this is like the conversation, between these two elements, these two sides, the masculine and the feminine. So yeah, there's only so much letting go you can ask someone to do. So I keep you by my side. I will not give you to the tide. That's our dedication to holding on to the Christ as this driving force back to union. I'll even walk you in my stride, Marie. So yeah, it's a conversation with the divine, and she represents that divine influence. Because I saw the masterpiece. She looks a lot like you, wrapping your left arm around my right, ready to walk me through the night. The masterpiece. You are the masterpiece. and you just forgot. So the more we can remember that, the more we can shine as that masterpiece, the most perfect creation, the unique piece that no one else can be. That's you. So thank you for you. Thank you for showing up as you are. Thank you for sharing your wonderful expression with us. So yeah, those are the two songs that I'm going to close this out with. And just want to say how much I appreciate everyone for being on the call today. It was a wonderful experience, a lot of great input, really great discussion. Thank you all so very much. And yeah, we'll keep on keeping on. I don't know about a watch party tomorrow night. I will make that decision tomorrow based on what's going on. So if we do it, it'll be a last minute post. Either which way, I hope everyone has a wonderful evening, day, wherever you are. And yeah, we'll talk to you next time. Enjoy these songs, sending out lots of love. And yeah, see you then.